Any, anyway, it occurs to me to say, and everyone knows I haven't really made a big study of Christianity, but I have studied world religions a little. So it occurs to me to say that at the time of Jesus, the 12 disciples were known as the saints. That doesn't mean they were sainted by the Vatican, which didn't exist at that time, or the Catholic Church, which didn't exist at that time. My point is that we're all bodhisattvas, not only one begotten son. So I'm not going to use the word clergy here, but you know what I'm saying. We're all living spirit trying to embody it in this earth in practical ways. Some people these days are calling it applied Dharma, like in life, where it really counts. People used to call it engaged Buddhism, or the Bodhisattva way, or the yoga ethic of seva, service to God, service to the highest by serving the lowest. Seva, S-E-V-A, it's a beautiful Sanskrit word, and that's what we aspire to. Anyway, it's a beautiful day here. It's Sunday, the day of delight, the day of rest, rest from worldly preoccupations. So nice to get together. I'm really glad to see everybody. I've been playing with the Bambinos and my family and godchildren this weekend, and that's fun. Meanwhile, our soundtrack in the back is the baseball playoffs, which is always fun. Although there's a million games, it hardly seems like playoffs anymore. Anyway, I'm not going to nostalgically fart around talking about the good old days like an old Walter Kaka, which I'm not going to translate, but it kind of means old fart. But here we are. It's a fresh moment. It's a beautiful day. Look at beautiful, shiny Kelly Amadei there in the woods near Garrison, New York, one of our favorite retreat places on the banks of the mighty Hudson River above New York City. And who else is there? Oh, I don't see any other beautiful people. Never mind. I was going to mention some. Just joking. I'm in a good mood today. I'm sorry. I've been playing with the Bambinos, so I hardly can make a rational sentence. I love kids. It reminds me of my own monkey mind. They'll say anything, you know. They say like, "Oh, come up and see my room. I got a new okay." And then they say, "At school we talked about George Washington." I say, "Okay." Just wait for the next popcorn to pop, just like in the monkey mind. Popcorn popping, lots of it coming up and dissolving like froth. Popcorn, pop, pop, pop. But from the point of view of contemplative experience, or zooming in more of meditation, of Buddhist meditation, zooming in even more precisely to the non-dual awareness practices of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, and let's include Zen sitting in this, why not? Which is very similar. We can simply enjoy the show, watch the popcorn pop, the movie, the sitcom, without getting overly involved while we're meditating. Of course, in life, we have a slightly different practice of skillfully entering into the dreamlike reality and making choices. But while the popcorn's popping, I say it's fine, it's good, it's appropriate for the movie theater here. Well, we just don't have to butter it up and salt it so much as usual. Just listen to the popping and enjoy the show. Now, of course, if we talk about life is like a dream, a fantasy, an illusion, as Buddha says in the Diamond Sutra, the Diamond of Wisdom scripture, the Diamond Sutra, the 12 similes of illusion, it could be helpful to help us relax a little and release our grip on reality, meaning not going crazy, but release our tight-fisted holding on to the impermanent phenomena and mind stuff passing through. It greatly reduces the rope burn from holding on too tight to this ephemeral, dreamlike stuff. And it doesn't mean it's just a dream. It's like a dream, like echoes, like a mirage, like a sitcom, as I like to say, like a rainbow, like dewdrops on blades of grass at dawn is one of Buddhist interesting similes for this beautiful, glistening, floating, translucent world, like dewdrops at dawn. Beautiful, evanescent, fleeting. So enjoying the show, and we're part of it. We're not just the audience, we're also involved on the screen and in between in the process. Projection on the screen, and the process, subject, object, and interaction. So I don't want to go too much more into the Abhidharma of Buddhist psychology. Really, it should be called psychophilosophy. But psychology, psychophilosophy, this understanding of the nature of the heart, mind, and how it works is part of 2,600 years old Buddhism, not just beliefs or cosmology. And so as we watch our own subjective experience, again, if we talk about in meditation, enjoying the show, whether it's a comedy or a tragedy, remembering it's just a show at the moment. We've come in here voluntarily. We can stop at any time. We don't have to get overly lost in it and freak out. On the other hand, it's good to let ourselves go and get a little lost in the entertainment, if we want to call it that. So just being the observer or the witness might not be enough. We don't want to become a wallflower in life and a quietist rather than finding and experiencing great peace and stillness. We don't want to be a wallflower in life. We can dance to any tune that's being played. Dancing with life, that's one of the beautiful images of the Bodhisattva. Playful, like the magician, the master of his or her or their manifestations, not forgetting that they're producing them, not falling in love with their clay mannequin like in Shaw's Pygmalion, or more recently we see even in the movies. There was a movie, Her, where Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with his computerized generated woman and forgets that she's computerized generated. Even more recently, there's a very good German art film which is worth watching. I'm going to recommend. It's kind of a love story of that sort. It's called The Man from Me. It's worth watching with subtitles, if you don't mind those. But how we go through life, that's the thing. Like children forgetting that it's Halloween costumes and crying when the neighbor, their grandmotherly friend, shows up dressed as a witch. And mom or dad have to say, look, remember, that's Mrs. Brenda from next door, just with a witch costume. It's Halloween, ha ha ha. We are those children. And if you think that I'm wailing in the wind here and tripping out, they say Buddha himself said that all of his teachings were like toys he put on the lawn in front of the burning house of samsara to lure the children out. And yes, Buddha has said that samsara, worldliness, the unenlightened life, can be likened to a prison, to a deep hole, and so on. A lot of similes of dissatisfactoriness, dukkha. Anyway, it's a beautiful day today. The leaves are starting to turn here in New England, although it's a little late. I love the autumn season. I don't know about you, and having been subjected to a lot of interviews in my life, and I don't mean one-to-one interviews with you about meditation in the room. Let's call them media interviews, print interviews, other kinds of media. People are always asking you things like, the basic worst level is, what's your favorite color? But then they get on to, what's your favorite season? You know, if they haven't read your book, it's really hard to know what to ask somebody. So fall is my favorite season, one could say, although playing the role here of meditation master, I should say every day is my favorite season, or every moment, but that would be an exaggeration. There certainly are raw days here in New England, not to mention blizzards and nor'easters that are not my favorite. But weather and nature is so marvelous overall, one has to appreciate it. The good days and the so-called bad days. Anyway, fall's like my favorite season. It's so poignant. It's the season of haiku, the Japanese short 17-syllable Japanese art form, the haiku poem that always has a season word in it. It's one of the characteristics of that form of poetry. And there are some others like awari and wabi and sabi, meaning poignance, simplicity. Awari, wabi, sabi, these are Japanese ethics words, like higa, cozy in Scandinavia. Anyway, the elegance, the poignance, the elegant simplicity of autumn, not yet the complete, almost complete death, like winter days when the trees are bare and the flowers are gone, but autumn with its beautiful brocade, especially in a place like this with the hardwood forests of northeastern America. And maybe wherever you are, I don't know, some places only have 2 seasons, seems to me, like Southern California, which really only has 1.5 seasons. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. I'll have to look into some news source to see what it says about National Clergy Day. I'm sure there must be something interesting in there or some story. I should tell some stories about my own teachers, the monks and nuns and abbots and abbesses and yogis and tantrikas and other and sadhus, wandering holy men and women and others, mystics today. I'm thinking hard. Well, it'll come out sooner or later. So I'd like to begin with a little chant. I know we can't really chant together in sync, but if you wouldn't mind, let's start with a little prayerful aspiration, being like clergy in that we're dedicated to the spiritual life. Since we're looking at the 7-line supplication, I'm going to give you a loose translation that can help make sense of this ancient secret Dakini language. The literal translation, if one could say that, is here in English. Here's a story about the clergy, if you want to call it that. Padmasambhava, the master who brought Buddhism and Dzogchen to Tibet in the year 712 AD. When there was a huge lightning and thunderstorm, let's say in Benares at Nalanda University, people were afraid. Think about when did Padmasambhava leave? 1400 years ago. People did not have the secure, central heated houses and concrete walls and heated and air conditioned cars to deal with that kind of weather. And they were afraid. And the Dakinis, the female yogis, went up on the roof of the monastery and they spontaneously made this chant. They all started chanting together in the thunder and lightning and rainstorm. Let's call it a monsoon or a hurricane. Yatsen chugging udrunye pemajane she sudra Godu kandro mapoku Yeki jesu da truki Shinge love chishan su so Guru pema siddhi Om Ahum Manza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Mahaho Benza Guru Pemahasi Dehon. Kelly, could I see a little more of the English words, please? Yes, good. In the northwestern continent of the red-skinned people, as Padmasambhava said in his prophecy, when the iron bird flies, think planes, folks, and horses run on wheels, trains and cars, folks, then the Dharma will arrive in the land of the red-faced people. This was his prediction in the 8th century AD. At the northwest border, at the northwest continent of the United States of Americas, in the heart of all of spiritual unfolding, of the heart's blossoming. You, precious sovereign master, precious embodiment of the high and the true, you have attained marvelous, sublime wisdom and spiritual realization. Thus you are renowned as the fully bloomed spirit, with feet in the mud and head in the sun like a lotus. You're renowned as the lotus born, emerging from within, not coming down from above, encompassed by vast retinues, the invisible array of energies, dakas and dakinis, bodhisattvas, Buddhas, Dharma protectors, guardians, allies, nature sprites, surrounded always, accompanied by the invisible array around all of us and within us as we practice, as we engage in the spiritual undertaking,
teachers, parents, nations, and all things.
following in your footsteps, seeking what you sought. Please deign to be among us. Please be present to us. Awaken us in the presence itself with a capital P. Awaken the presence, centered in the presence with a capital P, whatever you call it, in blessing, encouragement, protection, guidance, and inspiration. Guru, lotus, spiritual powers. Hung. Hung is the wisdom syllable. And then chanting many times the mantra, Om Mahum Bet Vajra Guru Pema Siddhi Hung. Oh, blessed inspiration, teacher, master, archetype, embodying all our best self, all the highest we can imagine. Transmit to us, beam into us, awaken us, illumine us, transforming each of us, transforming all together. Siddhi, spiritual empowerment. Hung, wisdom it is. So again, chanting it in Tibetan, just to reinforce these thoughts. And again, it's hard to translate these very ancient Dakini languages. But I think here we get to the meaning. Praying, invoking, humbling ourselves, asking for help, opening ourselves, lowering our egos and our defenses, lowering ourselves to receive as if from above, or opening to let things emerge and blossom and relax within, relax our tight-fisted, ego-centric grasping and clinging and narcissism, selfishness. Hung Ujen Yuljina Chansa Pemagesa Dompola. Oh yeah. Yatsi Choging Udrunye Pemajane Sudra. Godu Kandra Mampokur Kieki Jesu Datriki. Shigela Chisha Suso. Guru Pema Sudi Hon. We chant this at the beginning of every prayer or sadhana practice or meditation, or ritual offering and puja in our Nyingmapa monasteries at the beginning of every one. And really in all Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, this is a very important prayer to Padmasambhava, the founder of Buddhism in Tibet. And then repeating his mantra many times. What should I call it? The imitation of Padmasambhava, being the blossoming lotus ourselves. Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum, invoking it, inviting it Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum, inviting him, her, them, us, from me to we. Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Buddha Dharma Sangha Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahum Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om. May the Buddha's blessing ever awaken and illumine our hearts and minds, bodies and souls, communities, and the earth itself. May the Enlightened One's blessing and inspiration, encouragement, wisdom ever unfold and blossom in our good hearts. May the inconceivable, extraordinary blessing, almost magical power of awakefulness dispel the momentary illusion we've ever been separate, incomplete, or apart. May your hearts and mine be joined, be rejoined, be one. And all we bodhisattvas play our part in the unfolding of the natural great perfection, even right now. And may all beings everywhere, human and otherwise, seen and unseen, may all be included in our prayers and practice and aspirations today, our sterling aspirations. As the Korean Zen master who lived in Providence, Rhode Island, the second half of his life came from Korea, Sung-san Sinim says about the Bodhisattva vow, just straight ahead, 10,000 years. Yes. And just resting in the heart of the lotus, sitting on our Buddha seat. This world, like what we call a Buddha field, a paradise in English, I guess. Shinkam in Tibetan, Buddha field. Every being, a Mahasattva, Bodhisattva like Chenrezig, Avalokita, Kuan Yin, Tara, Manjusri, whoever your Istadevata, your indwelling highest divinity is imaged as. Yidam Istadevata in Sanskrit, your highest inner divinity, image, personification. Just sitting on your lotus. The whole world is the lotus. The oneness of us all is the deity, if you want to call it deity, is the Istadevata, is the archetype of the divine, of the awakened, of the light itself. Or as it says in the Tara Tantras, every being, people like to say every woman is Tara, that's fine as far as it goes, but I think we need to say these days every being, everybody is a Tara in this Buddha field called infinite array of lotuses, infinite lotuses floating, and each being on their own lotus. And I don't want to emphasize separateness, but see the unity and the diversity. All of us bodhisattvas blossoming in the heart of the Buddha, of Padmasambhava, and him, her, them in our hearts, in the heart of the matter, the essence of spirit, the light, freedom, truth, bliss, joy, Satchidananda in Sanskrit. True bliss of wakeful awareness of cosmic consciousness. So bring it down here to our lotus, to our seat, sitting on our seat. Maybe you're standing, I don't know, being a standing Buddha. Just sitting, just breathing, just being, sitting on our Buddha seat, coming home to ourselves, centering. How sweet it is. Simple, poignant, elegantly simple. Sabi, wari, ware. Like a haiku, like autumn. The colors are so beautiful yet fading. Perhaps like life. Just to look at the autumn season, of course, after autumn comes winter, and then the resurgence, the regeneration of spring, and the fullness of summer. Comes to mind the haiku. On the samurai's armored shoulder, crouched in ambush, a red gold leaf slowly lands. Isn't that like our life? So poignant, so tender, amidst such powerful as well as gentle, inconceivably tender bits. The samurai's armor and the gentle leaf landing on it while crouching as if in ambush. Maybe that's our meditation for today. Crouching like the Zen frog on the lotus leaf, keeping your eyes peeled. I'm not going to say for flies, that would seem not very ahimsa or non-aggressive, non-violent. Just like the frog sitting there like a Zen master. Ba, ba, ba. That's how Zen masters talk if you've never been in Japan. Ba. Or frogs. Really, I can't get enough of Zen these days. I'm reverting to my teenage haiku poet self. It's a great pleasure and delight. Just sitting, just breathing, just being. Is that not the Zen frog on the leaf, floating on the water of life and death? So vivid, yet so tenuous, strong, striking, yet vulnerable, sensitive, attentive, fully attentive. Maybe a fly will come by, maybe a Buddha will fly by, I don't know, keeping one's eyes peeled. Without pride, without ambition, without worrying about the future or the past, beyond politics, beyond selfishness. That's our dog Zen for today, folks. Being the frog-like Zen master. Just being. That's the essence of Zen. The essence of dog Zen. Dzogchen. It's hard to do it, but we can be it at one with our own life. Even here and now. Just breathing, just sitting, just being. Breathe, relax, center, focus, smile. Amidst the storm, blessings, spiritual unfolding, delight, imaho. Yes. One voice, one old pond, one old frog. We are the place where God and Buddha shines through. They and I are one, not two. They need us where and as I am, as we is. We need not fear, nor think and strategize, nor plan, nor fizz too much when I can be relaxed, at ease, at home and free. The highest will work their plan of love and truth and healing through we. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Mantra number 3. Mantra of great compassion and love. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. I'm adding Kri. Om Mani Padme Hum. The seed syllable of Avalokiteshvara Kuan Yin Hri. At the heart. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Hope the Vajra needle is stuck. Om Mani Padme Hum. In the groove. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mami pray me home. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Tade Tu Tade Tudie. So ha Tara's mantra. Om Tade Tu Tade Tudie. So ha. Om Tade Tu Tade Tudie. So ha ha. Om Tade Tu Tade. So ha, Mr. Tara, so-called female Buddha, bless us, awaken us, purify all, transform us, transforming all, transforming the world. Imaho, ha 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 ho, ha. Mother Tara, womb of enlightenment, mother of all the Buddhas, we love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've touched on a few things today, beginning with the thought of Clergy Day and all of us being equally of light and spirit, regardless of our vocational role in the world. Of course, different people have different focuses, talents, sides to ourselves, and so on. We've mentioned Zen Masters, which is a kind of clergy, I guess, in China, Japan, Korea, etc., and even in the West now in a few places. We've mentioned bodhisattvas like Tara and Chenrezig, personifying unconditional love and compassion, loving kindness, forgiveness, mercy, empathy. Tara, first responder, swift acting, mother of answered prayers, and so on. In the higher realms, let's say, or the invisible realms, in the Sambhogakaya, in the energy and visionary realm of clergy, it's said that Tara and Avalokiteshvara, or Kuan Yin in China, some say she's the same ray, and Jesus is on that ray too, of compassion. You know, there are other rays, like of dynamic power or of wisdom and gnosis, but the compassion ray of Tara and Chenrezig and Jesus are one. I like that way of thinking. John Blofeld, one of the pioneering Buddhist scholars who lived in China and Asia for a very long time, in 40 years ago, was a friend of mine in Bangkok, where he ended up living eventually. He says that they're one. Tara and Chenrezig, Avalokita, one, and Kuan Yin. I like that way of thinking. And the male, female, and other complementariness. Anyway, in the realm of, let's call it ascended clergy, it's said that Tara and Chenrezig, Kuan Yin, came or descended, or, you know, it's kind of put in mythopoetic terms, that infinite light, or, you know, in the beginning was the light. Infinite light, Amitabha, in the timeless dimension, infinite light in the ancient past, aeons ago. Out of compassion, his head split open, and out of that came some tears and like deities and Buddha activity and blessings in all directions, whatever is needed, food for the hungry, drinks for the thirsty, protection for the vulnerable and downtrodden, and so forth, whatever is needed. And from his tears they landed in the Lotus Lake and became Chenrezig and Tara. And furthermore, that two tears became white Tara and green Tara. There's a lot of, let's call it history, or more precisely, probably Buddhist mythology about this. You can read about it. So in the beginning was the light, and from that came all the different manifestations and colors refracted through the crystal of mind or awareness, and come the meditation deities, the yidams, the inner archetypes embodying these sublime principles, like Tara, Kuan Yin, Avalokita, Chenrezig, and so on, and others, medicine, healing Buddha, etc. So we ourselves, as we go deeper into the light, you know, as the son of my own teacher, Nosho Kempo Rinpoche, used to say, as the son of wisdom, awareness, gnosis, wisdom arises within us. Its rays, its warm, illumining, healing rays naturally radiate in all directions. That's the image of natural, spontaneous, proactive Buddha activity, or compassion, loving kindness, love in action, service, generosity, and all the other transcendental virtues, the paramitas, the Panacene virtues of the Bodhisattva. So that's why in the Dzogchen tradition we talk about natural compassion, or natural goodness. Trungpa Rinpoche, Chogyam Trungpa, Buddhist pioneer Rinpoche, called it basic sanity, or basic goodness, translating the word Buddha nature, taking away the foreign, the Asian, the religious word Buddha, and saying basic sanity. Wisdom is basic sanity. Health is the natural state. Illness is the aberration. We are healed and returned to health. We don't get it from a doctor. We might get help from a doctor or a wise elder, but they can't do it all for us. So in the world of the ascended clergy, in the beginning was the light, infinite light, the red Buddha Amitabha imaged as in the West as like the setting sun, never setting sun, and its rays as the Buddha activities personified as the Sambhogakaya. Amitabha is the Dharmakaya, the formless, the I know we say red and light and all, but it's subtler than optic light. It's illumination. It's like the aliveness principle, which is invisible yet vivid, even in a coma, still present. So it's not just consciousness. It's also there in unconsciousness or dream or death. Anyway, the Dharmakaya, the realm of pure absolute truth, and the Sambhogakaya, the more energy, the rays, the visionary, the bodhisattva rays of compassion and loving kindness and generosity and everything else. And then the Nirmanakaya, the embodiment, Tulku, like the Dalai Lama, incarnate Buddha, and each of us really at heart, by nature. I remember there was some discussion about who was the real Karmapa Lama when our guru, the 16th Buddha Karmapa, died, and there were two main candidates or lamas that children really recognized in different places. And I asked one of my favorite lama friends about this, and he said, "Oh, the Karmapa had infinite incarnations. How could he be limited to two?" He just leaped over the whole neurotic political conflagration. Oh, I loved it. So, does anyone have any questions? We've talked about some things today, some Buddhology, as well as some other things that are more universal. Any questions, please? Is something coming in the chat? I'm not on the chat.
Oh, so there's a couple questions, Lama.
Yes.
I'll read them for you.
Ah,
The first one is, could you, Lama, please share some wisdom on perceived ebb and flow of intensity of practice?
Tricky. Intensity. That's a good word. Let's zoom on it by zooming out to like the spiritual life. Now, this is questions about intensity of practice, which sounds like something we do maybe every morning or, some part of the day or the week, even if we only go to church or a synagogue or mosque on one day, it sounds like something we do. But spiritual life is, I don't want to say 24/7. How about it's a spiritual life year round, however many days you think are in the year, let's say 365 in our present Western calendar. 365, whatever it is. Spiritual life, the intensity, ebbing and flowing, of spiritual life. It's like anything else. Things change. It's like the sea. The sea never leaves its bed, and yet it's never still. The sea never leaves its bed, yet it's never still. There may be waves. There may be ups and downs. There may be hurricanes, tsunamis, or whatever, El Niños, typhoons. Similarly, with our own different states of consciousness or emotions. So since we talked about intensity. So now if we bring it down from this whole spiritual life, which could be a focus, to intensity of practice within life, like revving up our spiritual life, like going deeper into it, like if you want to talk about quantity, going to a retreat instead of just meditating or doing yoga 1 hour a day or something, which would be a lot actually, a few times a week can inform the whole week. But if we go into like a retreat weekend or week or month or something, or on a pilgrimage, leave our jobs and usual responsibilities, then we ratchet up the intensity. So there are waves or periods of intensity, as well as if you're just like say meditating in the morning and just making this up, like a lot of people do this kind of thing, or yoga in the morning, but not necessarily. Maybe they do it after work on Monday night. I don't know. Yoga class, meditation, sitting group, or on Sunday morning or Saturday morning at a house of worship or anywhere or in nature. If we're doing, let's say, a half hour or an hour meditation or yoga practice, and sometimes we're more focused and intensely vigilant and aware and in it, sometimes we're less focused and more distracted. That too is the ebb and flow of things. Consciousness moves, the Tao flows. It's not static, it's not frozen, it's not concrete. So naturally, there's different intensities depending on the outer conditions. In the allegory, in this metaphor of the ocean, the weather affects the ocean, and the ocean affects the weather. In the metaphor of the daily practice session, maybe in the beginning, you're trying to get into it, and then you get into it, and then you're intensely concentrated briefly, and then you get a little distracted, and then you try to get back into it. So the into it part. So I think these things ebb and flow like the ocean, like the tides. And there's definitely high tide and low tide. I'm going to say again, but the ocean never goes anywhere, leaves its bed really. And similarly with our spiritual life, which we can align with, I don't want to just say like come back to, which we can align with, which we can center ourselves in. And sometimes we're more focused than other times. That's like the tides, the spiritual tides ebb and flow, but continue. So with the ocean, I think the tides come in and go out twice a day, 24-hour cycle coming in and going out. But, not sure. But that's the general idea. And similarly with spiritual intensity. And also, nothing is an unalloyed good. Milk sounds better than poison, but, you can die from milk too. You can drown in milk. So too much intensity could also be an issue. Thus, Buddha always called his teaching the middle way, not Buddhism. He didn't try to start in religion. The middle way, not all or nothing. So that also relates to this question of the flow, ebb and flow of intensity. There are many lanes on the spiritual path or highway. Let's just try to stay out of the ditches on either side, like materialism and nihilism. So the ebb and flow is using the different lanes and the ups and downs to keep going, let's say on course or in the right direction without getting into all that about which direction and right and wrong. The ebb and flow of intensity, just like anything else. You could say the same about love in a long-term relationship, the ebb and flow, but being in for the bigger picture and not being impetuous, deciding because we're, have a bad patch that things have to be different. Any other questions? That's a good question because that's about balance and continuity in the long run. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and we have a related question from Mark. And he asks if you have any tips on how to handle the transition from the weekend to the work week as floods of work commitments and responsibilities come upon us. How we integrate our downtime with that.
Right. Well, these days, I'm not sure everybody has weekdays and weekends anymore, but yet because of, the grid, communications, flex hours, and many other things, working at home and other things. But in general, what we're talking about is just like we talk about meditation and post-meditation practice is a little different. In meditation, focusing more on awareness alone, on transparency, on seeing through whatever arises and letting it go. In post-meditation, dancing with life, playing skillfully in the dream, making it a good dream, not a nightmare, and so on. for us, for our children, for our family, for our community, for our world. So it's a little different variation, whether meditation or post-meditation, although this is a big simplification. Life may not be just divided into those two things. There are other parts, let's say. So similarly with work and play or downtime, as you put it, the weekend and the work week. Even in the work week, if you take one day, let's just give a caricature square example, Monday morning, a lot of people go to school and go to work on Monday more than on Sunday, maybe these days, probably still true. So even Monday, there may be some downtime in the morning if you get up before everybody else. There may be some during the day, like not just your tea break, but there may be at lunchtime, if there's lunchtime, maybe the evening is considered downtime. So there's also work and play or work and downtime during the day to integrate and flow between and shift gears, not just have highway fifth and idle, but gears being able to shift between these things. For example, after a long retreat, let's say a month, let's say a week, like a vacation, you come back and you feel good, but also it's a little bit of culture shock. And getting back into the flow of things, the speed of things, the increased decibel level from, let's say, country or silent retreat, getting away from it all, back into being in it all. So integration is the name of the game. And that's where practices that are more generally applicable, remember what I said before, applied Dharma, integrated Dharma in life, come in, like mindfulness. You don't have to cross your legs to cultivate mindfulness while you're sitting at your desk or whatever it is at your wheel of your bus, or changing the diapers on your kid. Washing dishes in the sunlight of mindfulness is the way of awakening, as Thich Nhat Hanh has said. So mindfulness is applicable anywhere, regardless of whether your legs are crossed or your eyes are closed, so-called meditating or not. Loving kindness, compassion, well-wishing, loving kindness, metta, well-wishing for others, like well-wishing, benevolence. When you see an animal, you see a squirrel, you see people, may you be happy, may you be well-wishing them, may you be safe. So these are very applicable in any situation. Of course, the Dzogchen view of openness and awareness is very integratable. Even our eyes are open when we practice. So in meditation and post-meditation, it's very integratable. And I appreciate that about Dzogchen and Mahamudra being more about the outlook, the view, the outlook, the perspective than the actual activity, like whether you're sitting and meditating, doing yoga, some explicitly spiritual discipline, or just living life in mindful living, spiritual life, and so on, not just dividing things into the sacred and the profane, or play and work. So as a wise person once said, I can't remember exactly the quote, but this is the meaning I want to convey that the quote gives: if you find yourself, make for yourself a vocation that you love, then you'll know that you're passionate about, that you love, a vocation, not just to make a living, a vocation, then you'll never work a day in your life, because work and play have merged to some extent. Like that's how I feel about my writing, for example, and teaching.
Thank you, Mama.
So that's called right livelihood or wise vocation, one of the 8 steps on the Buddhist path. But more important, emphasizing integration into daily life through awareness, bringing awareness, soulfulness, loving kindness, and generosity, and all those virtues into daily life. Not just waiting to meditate or go to a house of worship on the weekend. Thank you all. I hope you'll join us for our upcoming events, our day long, our master class, our Ask the Lama session, and so on. All of these are findable. It looks like there's something in the chat. Look at our website, etc. Thank you all, and have a beautiful day, and stay healthy and safe. Love
Thank
to
you,
one and
Mama.
all. You're welcome, Kelly. Thank you.
And for those of you who've asked, there's two related questions. One is, when are we going to have in-person retreats again?
Hopefully, yes. When we
hopefully-
can, we're planning them. It's hard to know when the time has come, when it'll be safe enough. It's hard to know 6 months in advance when it will be safe enough. That's one of the issues.
So in the meantime, we have our advanced retreat starting October 24th, and that link is in the chat. And we have the masterclass next Saturday. And we have this beautiful offering from Lama every Sunday. So thank you. Thank you, Lama. We love you.
Love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a beautiful day, everybody. Take good care.